Location is key, location is vital. It's the main thing. Location is key. It is definitely time for a brew. Through the annoying swing gates. You might have seen these before if you've been following the regular uploads. These are really annoying. Water clarity looks dirty again. Well, we've had a bit of rain. That was a fish. Well, that'd be a carp. Welcome to a new video. We are back on a bank. I am back up on the estate lake. Now I've just come up to the lake and I was actually stood here with all my gear on, and a fish has just crashed out right in front of me as I was watching the water. Obviously location is key, as I always say, and I think that's pretty much given me the location straight away. Now the lake is empty at the moment. There's no one on there. There was no one in the car park this morning, so nice sign. Not to say no one's going to turn up, but there's no one out here at the moment, so I've got sort of the pick of the lake. And I'll be honest, I was thinking about possibly fishing across to a big old sort of overhanging tree, which I've heard has produced quite a few fish lately, but having seen a fish jump out a couple of times and give itself away, I can't really ignore it, can I? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flick the rods out in the air quickly, just stick them out, see if I can get a bite relatively fast. If it doesn't happen, I've got about 4 hours, I think, fishing, potentially 3.5 maybe. So if I don't get a bite within maybe half an hour, I might look at moving down to the other area if no one else turns up. I think because they were active and showing, I should get a bite quick if there's anything there. So I'm going to get the rods out quick, flick out a couple of rigs, and see if we can get a quick bite. If I do get a bite, obviously I'll stay put, probably introduce a bit of bait. If I don't, I might move down to that other area and see if I can produce anything there. But anyway, we've seen one. Let's get some rods out, see if we can put a fish on the bank. First things first, get the net set up. Tends to be the first thing I set up and the last thing that normally gets packed away. Anyone have any idea why when you take your rods out sometimes it's like there's been some little borrower in there that has just sort of intertwined the line around everything? There's almost absolutely no explanation for how it's happened, but it seems to happen nearly every time I get the rods out. I have no idea how it happens, but it does. Look at that swan, literally just pecking up the water bucket now. It's the most annoying animal. Right, rod number one going out then. So usual setup at the moment, hybrid leg clip, called a hybrid leg clip, tungsten tubing, and then I've got some tungsten loaded hook link material tied to one of my Slip D Ronnies, and I've got a Fruitalicious 12mm pop up on there, and then one of my very oily ground bait bags, which just gives a boost of attraction. Now this rod has got a short hook length, the other one's got a much longer hook length, just to see if there's any difference between hook length length. So a fish showed out pretty much in front of this swim, so what I'm going to do is just flick this one out in front of me like that, quite deep there. Sink that line down, just plunge that right down in the depths. There you go, that line's gone below the surface. And then get a stupid swan out of my kit. Right, slacking that off. Clear off. Clear off. Go on, off you go. Right, rod number 2. So basically exactly the same setup, but a much longer rig. I have got a pink one on there as well, so obviously the colour is different hook bait wise, but what I want to see if whether I get any sort of difference in hookup, where the hook's sort of positioned in the fish's mouth. So hopefully I can get a couple of bites today, one on each rod would be nice, and see if there's any difference. But it's something I'm trying a little bit lately, just to see if it does make any difference. But this one is pretty much going out in that open water area as well. A little bit further out, that one. Yeah, we're just using the front rest, that grain is solid. So then the rods have been fishing for about an hour, maybe an hour 15, something like that, and I've not had anything happen. So I've not seen any other shows. Obviously I've seen that fish roll a couple of times initially when I've got here. I've dropped the rods out in that zone. I managed to get a little bit of bait in, not a lot though, because the seagulls were an absolute pain. But I've not had any liners, no indication. I've not seen anything else show. There's sort of no indication really to say there's still some fish there. But unfortunately another bloke has turned up and he's gone up towards the other area that I was thinking of going. So that is the unfortunate thing with fishing, is that someone else can come along and obviously get in where you might have wanted to move, but that is how it is. So what I've done is I've actually decided to bring in the right hand rod, and I've actually sent it down towards the dam, and I've had a few fish down there in the past. It tends to be a bit of an area that fish seem to go along and patrol. So I'm essentially going to just sort of rove that rod around, recast it every 20-30 minutes and just try different areas and see if I can potentially drop on maybe a little group of fish and get a bite. And then I'm going to leave the left rod out in that zone where I've initially seen that fish show. I've managed to get a little bit of bait in, and I'm going to just try and fire out a few baits in between the birds if I can, and see if I can sort of get something going there. But like I said, it's a short session today. I haven't got a lot of time, so I think I need to be as active as possible to try and see if I can find a fish. So that's essentially what I'm going to do today. I'm going to try and search them out with that right rod, and hopefully we can drop on one and have a bite. But it is definitely time for a brew. Well, a coffee, but yeah, let's dig that kettle out, get the kettle on, have a drink, and I haven't even had any breakfast yet, so I'm going to warm up my bacon sandwich, and I'm going to smash that back. So yeah, let's crack on with that. You might have seen this a few times. This is my water butt carrier. So basically this is Cotswold Aquarius, and it basically houses a 5 litre water bottle, and it's a really nice bit of kit. And what I've got on one side is my milk, and then on the other side I've actually got some cordial for some squash if I want something different. And yeah, I carry that all in there, and that actually goes over my shoulder. It's really easy to carry, and you can obviously have 5 litre of water in here if you're doing a full day session, and actually it doesn't actually feel that heavy where you've got it over your shoulder. So yeah, nice bit of kit to be honest. So let's get a bit of water in here, and let's get that kettle on. Right, Right then, so here's the old toasty done. Absolute mega, toasted to perfection. Lovely and crunchy. The bacon's lush as well. It is probably one of the best toasties I've had for ages. So definitely the highlight of the session. Washing it down with a nice coffee. So can't get much better than that. Well, it could. I could have a bite, but for the time being, while I'm biteless, it don't get much better. Right then, so I've been watching the water for a while now, and I've not actually seen a single thing. I've not seen any other fish show. I've not seen any signs of anything really to give me somewhere to move to. But you know, in between sort of obviously making a few drinks, doing a bit of filming, that sort of thing, I do try and watch the water as much as possible. At the end of the day, I say it all the time, but location is vital. It's the main thing, in my opinion, that will catch you fish. If you're not on the fish, you ain't going to catch them. So it pays to make sure you're in a zone where there might be some fish, or at least try anyway. So what I wanted to just talk about quickly is what I'm doing when I'm looking for fish, because it doesn't get talked about much. People talk about looking for signs of fish, looking for anything, but they don't tend to go into actually what they're doing. So I just thought I'd quickly go over what I'm doing. So when I'm watching a lake, the main thing I'm doing is scanning the water, looking for something maybe rolling, bit of fizzing, bit of water movement, just any sign that it might be something fishy, essentially. And what I tend to do is I basically look at the most furthest point away. So on this lake, it's going to be the margin on the far bank. That's going to be the most distant point. So I can obviously go all the way from the corner here, all the way around. I can pretty much see the whole margin all the way around, bar the very, very top corner. So the reason I do that is because if you look at the furthest point away, if anything shows between the bank and where you're looking, you're going to see it. It's going to be picked up in your vision. Whereas if you're looking sort of only halfway, the chances are your focus isn't going to pick up anything showing beyond it. So I always look at the furthest point I can, and generally speaking, you will always see something show. You might not see it as clearly, you know, because you're obviously looking further away, but you will see it, and it's better to see half see something than not see anything. So that's what I tend to do. It just almost allows me to sort of cover more water volume and cover more areas of the lake while I'm sort of looking around, so that I can still see as much as possible and make the most of your time. Also, in terms of what I'm looking for, in terms of sort of signs, you're obviously looking for fish jumping, fish rolling, sort of water movement, vortexing, where the water's sort of being displaced, where something might be going through. If there's any bird life, you're looking at the birds as well. Sometimes the birds will spook when they go over to something and feel almost startled and sort of jump and sort of flap around and that sort of stuff. Sometimes where birds are diving, if you've got coots on the lake, you will see them diving. They might be diving on like fresh weed or some kind of hatch or something, and sometimes you can have carp then amongst them looking around because they're looking for the same sort of stuff. Also things like bubbling up, water fizzing, when the fish are obviously sifting around in the bottom and letting out sort of gases in the lake bed, and also sort of gases coming out through their gills. Coloration in the water, that sort of thing. Just anything really like that. Sometimes it might not be any kind of movement, but if you're walking around, you can sometimes just see the fish sat up. Like they might be sat up in the margin, sat up under trees, sat in the snags, sort of anywhere that might look a bit like carpy. You know, fish like to be comfortable, so looking features, they might not sort of, you might not be able to see them moving as such, or they might not be rolling, but you might physically see them sat there just sort of chilling out. So that's kind of what I'm looking for whenever I'm sort of looking around for fish. So there's a lot that goes into it. It takes a lot of practice, takes a lot of time, but if you're new to fishing and you're watching this, it's just a bit of an idea of what to look for and sort of how to go about doing it. So hopefully you find that interesting and helpful. Now, anyway, I'm going to carry on watching the lake, because while I've been doing this, I've not really been watching very well. So I'm going to carry on watching the water, and hopefully I do see something, because at the moment, not much is going on. Right then, well, I've given you a very nice little focus point on the reel, so hopefully one of those goes purring off in a minute. But I just wanted to sort of cover the fact that obviously this video has been quite a bit about location, and I wanted to try and focus on that again. Now and then I do sort of make a video and sort of try and talk a lot about location, because I do think it's a vital bit of fishing. It's an absolute key element, and you'll hear me say it in nearly every video, location is key, and I do think that. Now to me, I do a lot of short session fishing. This winter I've pretty much just been doing days only. Most of it has been like 3-4 hour trips, so location is so important. I did a session not too long ago on a local sort of big fish water. I think I called it winter carp or winter fishing for big carp on a rock hard venue or something like that. But basically it's a local water. It's got some big fish in it, but it's very, very tricky lake. And I actually spent the first part of that session, I think I was doing about a 4-hour trip, and I spent about an hour and a half walking around. I did a lap of the lake, looking in all the nooks and crannies, just trying to find any sign of a fish. And I did find a bit of fizz in, put a couple of rods on it. I ended up catching a bream, so it didn't pay off in that sense, but you never know, it could have been a carp. And that's kind of what I want to try and sort of get across in this video, is that although potentially I might not have anything today, it is about finding them, and the more you put into finding them, the more time you spend locating your quarry, it will pay off. And that can be walking around when you first get here, trying to find some fish to set up on them straight away. It can be watching the water when you're already fishing, and it can also be casting your rods around and trying to search out the swim, search out the water in front of you, and try and see if you can get that opportunistic bite. There's loads of different ways of finding fish, and there's loads of ways of creating something to happen. Now, it won't always pay off, but 9 times out of 10 it does work in your favour. So put as much effort into it as you can. It will definitely work more for you. So that's kind of what the aim of this video is today. You know, I'm down on a local little estate lake. It's a lovely little place, but I just wanted to kind of focus on location and try and get that point across to you all. So just remember, that should be your priority every time you're going fishing, is make sure you find them, because you ain't going to catch them if they're not there. Unfortunately, I'm off to work, but anyway, it hasn't happened, but it's been nice getting out on the bank. It's a lovely venue, this place. I really like coming here, and hopefully the little bits I've spoken about in terms of fish location, how to track them down and find them, and putting in that effort will pay off for you guys. So if you're new to the channel, please subscribe, click the bell icon for up-to-date notifications so you don't miss any videos. Follow us on our social media, shown below, especially Instagram, because we update it all the time, put loads of reels and stuff on the stories, all that sort of thing. But anyway, yeah, without messing around too much, 'cause I need to go to work. Thanks for watching, see you in the next video, and get out there and be lucky. Oh God, I've got to go back to the van, and I've got to go to work. And I blanked. Oh dear. Come on then.